All right, good afternoon. 12:45 here. We will have a briefing by Ambassador Bob Ray in his capacity as president of the Economic and Social Council, and he will be here to brief you on the high-level political forum. Turning to the situation in Gaza, our humanitarian colleagues at the Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs tell us that the Israeli military continues to issue displacement orders, telling Palestinians to relocate to Mawasi, an area, as you know, that is already extremely overcrowded and lacks the basic necessities for survival. This is all happening, obviously, amongst ongoing hostilities. Today's displacement orders cover approximately 9 square kilometers, encompassing 11 neighborhoods across Gaza and North Gaza governorates, where at least 120,000 people are estimated to be residing. We cannot underscore enough that civilians must be protected, including those fleeing and forced to leave through displacement orders, as well as those who decide to stay. Food insecurity, as you can imagine, is also worsening. On the fuel crisis, our OCHA colleagues tell us that Israeli authorities continue to allow the entry of limited supplies of fuel. So far, it's been a rate of about 75,000 liters per working day, with nothing allowed in on Friday or Saturday, and a lag of about a day or two before fuel can be collected from the Palestinian side of the Karim Shalom crossing. We and our partners reiterate that hundreds of thousands of liters of fuel are critically needed every day to keep life-saving services going. Inside Gaza, planned mission by our partners to deliver aid and services continue to face significant access challenges. Many are either denied outright or obstructed due to unpredictable and lengthy coordination procedures. The restrictive operational environment is making it increasingly difficult to deliver core humanitarian services, including food, shelter, healthcare, water, sanitation, protection, and education. All of this is further worsening an already catastrophic situation. We reiterate that our call on the Israeli authorities to allow us to facilitate the unimpeded and safe flow of humanitarian and commercial supplies into Gaza, and to do so swiftly and at the scale necessary to help people. The picture in the West Bank is also bleak. A lot has been mentioned by our colleagues in Geneva this morning, but I can tell you that the past weeks, Israeli settlers and security forces have intensified their attacks and harassment of Palestinians, including resulting in the death of Palestinians in the occupied West Bank, including East Jerusalem. We call on Israel to immediately stop these killings, harassment, and home demolitions across the occupied Palestinian territory. As the occupying power, Israel must take all feasible measures to ensure public order and safety in the West Bank. There must be a thorough, independent, transparent investigation into all killings and all other alleged violations of international law. Moving north to the situation in Lebanon, and I can tell you that our UNIFIL peacekeepers stationed in southern Lebanon are continuing to observe a military presence and activities by Israeli defense forces, including air violations of drones. You also have been asking me in the past days about Israeli airstrikes on targets in Lebanon, and I can tell you that we are aware of reports of Israeli airstrikes reportedly against Hezbollah positions in the Bekaa Valley to the east of Beirut, resulting in several casualties. We and also wanted to say that yesterday UNIFIL peacekeepers found 2 unauthorized weapons caches in their area of operations, including one containing detonation wire coils and another containing mortars and anti-personnel mines. As per usual practice, these were referred to the Lebanese armed forces for disposal. We once again urge all parties to uphold the cessation of hostilities and refrain from any activities that may endanger civilians. Our UNIFIL colleagues are committed to impartially monitor and report violations of Resolution 1701 and to support the parties in fulfilling their responsibilities under that resolution. On the Syrian front, I can tell you that the Secretary General is deeply concerned over the continued violence that we have seen in the Druze majority area in Suweida governorate in southern Syria, which has resulted in dozens of casualties, including among civilians. He is disturbed by reports of arbitrarily killings of civilians, sectarian incitement, and the looting of private property. He condemns all violence against civilians, especially acts that risk inflaming sectarian tensions. The Secretary General urges the interim authorities and local leaders to immediately de-escalate and to protect civilians, to restore calm, and of course to prevent any further incitement to violence. He further urges the interim authorities to transparently and openly investigate and hold to account those responsible for what we have seen. The Secretary General is also concerned by Israel's airstrikes on Syrian territory and calls on Israel to refrain from violations of Syria's independence, its sovereignty, and its territorial integrity. The Secretary General underscores it is imperative to support a credible, orderly, and inclusive political transition in Syria in line with the key principles of Security Council Resolution 2254. Our Deputy Special Envoy for Syria, Najat Roshdi, is currently in Syria and calling for de-escalation and dialogue between the interim authorities and the local stakeholders. Our resident and humanitarian coordinator for Syria, Adam Abdemullah, is also sending the same messages. And also just on the humanitarian front, our humanitarian partners in Suweida report that medical services are overstretched and that markets and basic services such as electricity, water, education have been disrupted. UN aid operations are still suspended in the impacted areas as movements along the main roads are disrupted, but we're mobilizing to be able to respond once again as the situation allows it. Meanwhile, our humanitarian colleagues also report that we and our partners continue to provide assistance to community affected by the wildfires in Latakia province. That is being done in coordination with the Syrian authorities. The fires have now largely been put under control, though sporadic blazes have continued. More than 1,100 people have been displaced and over 14,000 people have been affected overall, with large areas of farmland destroyed. UN agencies, along with NGOs and the Syrian Arab Red Crescent, are providing a range of support, including mobile teams to provide health and nutrition services, solar lamps, jerry cans, and other critical household items, as well as bread and ready-to-eat rations, clean water, and they're also helping to rehabilitate schools that have been damaged by the fires. Turning to Sudan, where the situation continues to deteriorate for civilians, our colleagues at the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs tell us they're deeply concerned over reports of brutal attacks on villages in the Kordofan region as hostilities continue to escalate. Between the 10th and the 13th of July, attacks on villages in the locality of Bara in North Kordofan state reportedly left at least 300 people dead, including children and pregnant women, and many more injured. Homes were looted and burnt and people displaced. Our colleagues say that ongoing communication disruptions in the area are making it difficult to confirm the exact number of civilians killed. OCHA is also alarmed by reports of renewed shelling in Al Obeid, in the state capital, which is deepening fears and insecurity among the civilians who are there. In West Kordofan state, attacks on the villages of Al Fula and Abu Zabad between the 10th and the 13th reportedly killed more than 20 people, including victims of an airstrike on a school that was sheltering displaced families. Humanitarian operations have, of course, also been affected by the ongoing fighting. These incidents are another tragic reminder of the relentless toll the conflict is taking on civilians across Sudan, and we once again reaffirm our condemnation of the killings of all civilians. We are also seeing civilian infrastructure, including schools, homes, shelters, and humanitarian assets, be targeted. They must never be targeted. And we call on all parties to the conflict to fully respect their obligations under international humanitarian law. People fleeing North Kordofan as well as El Fasher in North Darfur state continue to seek out safety in other parts of Sudan, including northern state. Our humanitarian partners there report that more than 3,000 people have arrived in Al-Daba since June. While some have received some food assistance, the steady influx of newly displaced families is putting even more pressure on an already overstretched humanitarian system. OCHA warns that the rainy season is bringing further hardship. In eastern Sudan on Sunday, heavy rains and strong winds destroyed or damaged shelters and food supplies for about 2,700 displaced people in Gedaref. Rapid assessment conducted by OCHA and our partners yesterday found that most of the impacted families wish to return to their areas of origin, but need someone's support to do so. Across Sudan, more than 1.3 million people have returned to their home areas since November 2024. That's what the International Organization for Migration is telling us. The vast majority returned to Al Jazeera, Sennar, Khartoum states, but they face worsening living conditions and shortages of basic services. We continue to appeal for an urgent and increased support to reach millions of vulnerable people across Sudan, and we thank the donors who have so far contributed this year's humanitarian response plan for Sudan, which is nearly 23% funded, with about $950 million in the bank. Moving to the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and our colleagues in the peacekeeping mission there tell us that on July 13th, 2 days ago, suspected members of the Codeco armed group attempted to attack village of Njala in Ituri province. UN peacekeepers quickly deployed a patrol to the area, leading the assailants to disperse, and no casualties, thankfully, were reported. The mission also reports that it engaged with 6 Lendu community leaders who reaffirmed their commitment to promoting peace through intercommunal dialogue with Hema leaders and sensitizing Codeco militias on engaging in dialogue and to strengthen intercommunal cohesion, social cohesion. The peacekeeping mission remains actively engaged in supporting the implementation of local peace initiatives, including the recently concluded dialogue between the armed groups known as the Aru-2 Act of Engagement. This commits armed groups in Ituri province to cease hostilities against civilians, to adhere to the National Disarmament Program, and support the safe, the voluntary, and the dignified return of all displaced people. Turning to Afghanistan, during a visit to the Islam Kala border crossing, the special representative of the Secretary General for Afghanistan, Rosa Atunbayeva, called for immediate international support for relief efforts as she witnessed the staggering daily influx of tens of thousands of Afghan returnees. During the visit, Ms. Atunbayeva met with returning families, assistance partners, and regional de facto authorities. The UN assistance mission in Afghanistan noted that despite determined efforts of UN agencies and local authorities, a powerful public outpouring of practical support to the returnees, the pace and the scale of returns are overwhelming already fragile support system. More than 1.3 million Afghans have returned so far in 2025, straining communities across the country where 70% of people live in poverty. Also want to flag that yesterday afternoon we issued a statement in which the Secretary General said he was deeply saddened by the passing of the former president of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari. During his tenure, President Buhari demonstrated deep commitment to sovereignty, to the stability and the development of Nigeria. He also played a key role in promoting regional peace and security in West Africa and the Lake Chad Basin. He was also a strong advocate for multilateral and regional cooperation. The Secretary General extends his condolences to the families of the former president, the government, and the people of Nigeria during this time of national mourning. Today is what day besides Tuesday? It marks something that I could have used when I was younger. It is World Youth Skills Day. This year's theme is youth empowerment through AI and digital skills. In his message, the Secretary General says AI reshapes our world. Young people must be seen not just as learners, but also as co-creators of a fair digital future. Every young person must be equipped with the skills for the digital age we live in. Got a quiz for you today. 2 countries paid in full. Ready? First country's national dish is kapsa, a flavorful. So do you want to tell us what kapsa is, or should I continue? I will go. Thank you. It's a flavorful rice dish typically made with the meat, such as chicken, lamb, or beef, and a blend of spices like cinnamon or cardamom. So thank you to Riyadh. And the second country is the largest landlocked country in Europe, but the 20th largest landlocked country in the world. Largest landlocked country in Europe. What? Belarus. So we thank Minsk. We now have 116 paid-up member states. Now that you've answered the question. So anyway, I'm open for queries if there are any. Deji.
Yes, last week there was a report that EU had a deal to increase humanitarian aid delivery to Gaza in partnership with Israel. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation has been rejected by the EU, which means there are not that many options. So has the UN been informed to be ready? Because we didn't see any progress actually in that front.
Well, we're always ready, and I think the theme since the latest large-scale blocking of aid coming in is that we are ready, right? And I think Carl Scow told you, Mr. Fletcher's told you, everyone's told you, and I've told you that we are ready.
Is there
we are well aware of the agreement announced between the European Union and Israel. We saw the statement from Ms. Callas underscoring the fact that the UN needed more aid to come in. So obviously there's been no unlocking of this as of now. We understand discussions are ongoing, but as always, we're ready.
Of the discussion?
Sorry?
Is UN in the
the discussions are between the European Union and Israel.
But you are the one.
Thank you. But I can tell you we are well aware of what is being discussed.
Okay. Secondly, on the Suweida situation, I'm kind of wondering what's the situation of UNDOF there on Golan Heights?
Well, the situation of UNDOF remains the same, that it is limited in its ability to do its work. But UNDOF is not covering the area of Suweida.
But Israeli military still is in presence in Syria.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Madame Salome.
Speaking of AI, there were some demonstrators that were removed from the premises earlier that were protesting tech companies that were cited in Francesca Albanese's report for helping Israel carry out its operations in Gaza. Has the UN considered its work with any of these tech firms going forward as a result of that?
Was there a demonstration in the building?
I believe they tried to get into the building and didn't, but
I
they were out in front on the.
Okay, I was not aware. We expect all of the private sector to work and to engage in work based on the principles of the Charter of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and we expect all our vendors that we may have to behave in a way that meets the code of conduct that is specified in our procurement.
Will the UN continue to work with those companies?
That's what I'll say for the time being. Volodymyr and then Magdalena.
Thank you, Stéphane. Today, European Union Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas stated that Russia has increasingly used chemical weapons in Ukraine, citing 9,000 cases based on Dutch and German intelligence. What is the Secretary General's position on this?
Look, we have seen those reports. I can tell you that we firmly stand against the use of any chemical weapons. Magdalena.
So Mike Waltz just wrapped up his Senate confirmation hearing to be ambassador to the UN. And throughout his testimony, he talked about how the UN desperately needs reform. He also said that the organization displays favoritism towards China and has very strong anti-Semitic and anti-Israel priorities. Is there a response to these comments, or comment more generally about his possible arrival to the U.S. mission soon?
I don't want to get in the midst of a confirmation hearing that's taking place. So obviously, we would welcome a permanent representative of the United States to the United Nations, which is such a critical partner and part of this organization. You know, I think our message to all member states is, if you're not fully pleased with what's going on in this organization, engage with the other member states in this organization. Alexei.
Thanks, Steph. There have been some reports that Germany has submitted a formal request to the UN to trigger the snapback mechanism against Iran under the JCPOA. Do you have any information on
I
that?
have not heard that except just now from you.
Oh,
But
well, that's
it
why-
doesn't. I will check.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone online? Serife.
Hi.
Serife?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. Yes, go ahead. Just put the
Yes,
sound up in the
Stéphane.
room a little louder. Hold on 2 seconds.
Seen it, but I want to ask you about the Israeli diaspora minister Chikli's comments after he compared the Syrian administration to Hamas. He called for the elimination of the Syrian president Ahmed al-Shara. And if you have a minute, I want to say exactly what he said. He said, anyone who thinks that Shara is a legitimate leader is deeply mistaken. He's a terrorist, a barbaric murderer who should be eliminated now. So I just want to know if you have a reaction to this call of assassination to a state leader. Thank you.
The last thing this region needs is more incitement to violence and more violent rhetoric. Okay. Yes, you may do one more. There's plenty of time.
OCHA came out with the number 875 people having been killed,
Right.
either getting
I think that's
aid
from
or-
our human rights colleagues.
Okay.
Yeah, but whatever.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Is there any way to put a number like that into perspective? These are people that are trying to get help. I mean, is there anything, you've been doing this job a long time, in terms of a humanitarian operation, what does this say in terms of how it functions in an international?
They issued some breakdown of which ones were near the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which one were others. The vast majority were near GHF. You know, how can you put in perspective, or how can you choose the right words when describing a situation where people are forced to walk miles between barbed wires in a militarized food distribution system, only to be shot by unnamed contractors or by the Israeli military, or by, we've seen a few cases of from Palestinian gunmen. It is just horrific. There is a better system. And it's not one that's a theoretical system. It's a system that existed during the ceasefire. All we're asking is to go back to that system. And we're saying there's enough work for everybody. There's enough work for the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation to work with us. The only thing we ask is that they work based on the most basic principles, where it is people don't have to risk their lives to get food. Deji.
Since you have plenty of time, let me
I
ask-
didn't say plenty. I said a little
Is it
bit more
much-
time.
much
And just
time?
for
Yeah. Okay.
Ms. Saloume, yeah.
So I'm just wondering, what's the reaction from the Secretary General that the country that owes big money actually want the big influence here in the United Nations?
Do you know of any country that doesn't want big influence in this organization? Thank you.